The rope is already wet. You soaked it last night, the way your father taught you, the way his father taught him. Because a dry rope burns too fast, and a fast burn means a long death. And a long death means the crowd turns, and when the crowd turns, they turn on you. You stand in the square before dawn. The market stalls are empty. The cobblestones are slick. Somewhere behind you, a door opens, and you hear it. The shuffle of feet, the clink of a chain, a man breathing in small, shallow pieces. The way men breathe when they are trying not to cry and failing. You do not turn around. You check the knot instead. You have checked it 4 times. You will check it again. Your hands know this work the way a carpenter's hands know the grain of wood, without thought, without pride, with only the dull weight of repetition. The priest begins to murmur, Latin, low and soft, like wind through a crack in a wall. The man behind you starts to sob. You still do not turn around. This is your life. This is the only life that was ever going to be yours. You were not born into this willingly. No one is. You were born into it the way you are born into a dialect or a disease, through blood, through circumstance, through the particular cruelty of a world that had already decided what you were before you drew your first breath. Your father was the executioner of this town. Before him, his father. The office passes like a title, except no one toasts it at a feast. No herald announces it. The magistrate simply calls you in 1 year, places the worn leather hood on the table between you like a thing neither of you wants to touch, and says, You know what this means. You did know. You had always known. In some towns, the law is explicit. A family that holds this office holds it for life and beyond life. To refuse is to be expelled. To be expelled is to have nowhere to go. The roads belong to merchants and pilgrims and soldiers. A man without a trade, without a guild, without a town, that man is nothing. That man starves, or worse. So you took the hood. You live at the edge of the city. Not outside the walls. They need you too close for that. But near enough to the edge that your house touches the shadow of the gate. Your door faces away from the market. This was not your choice. The town elders decided where you would live the same way they decided everything about your life, without asking. You are not permitted to worship with the congregation. There is a corner of the church, a side door, a separate pew, a space that is yours without being yours. Because the church needs you to have a soul, but does not want your body beside theirs. You enter after the others. You leave before the blessing is finished. The priest does not meet your eyes, but he takes your tithe. He always takes your tithe. You are not permitted in most taverns. Some will serve you through a window or in the back, the way they serve travelers of uncertain reputation. You have learned which ones. You have learned not to want more. People think the work is violence. It is not violence. Violence is sudden, hot, uncontrolled. This is something else entirely. This is administration. This is the machinery of order wearing a human face, and you are that face. You are called for executions, yes, but that is perhaps the least of it. You brand the petty thief's hand in the square, holding the iron steady while he screams, while the crowd watches, while the magistrate reads the sentence from a scroll in a voice that doesn't waver because he is not the one holding the iron. You administer the flogging for the debtor, the pillory for the blasphemer. You oversee the strappado, the rope and pulley torture used to extract confessions that the court has already decided it wants to hear. You are the instrument of confession. You have learned to read a man's body the way a farmer reads weather. You know how much pain produces speech, and how much produces only noise. You know the difference between a confession and a performance, but that distinction is not yours to make. You do not decide guilt. You do not decide sentence. You are handed a body and a set of instructions, and you are expected to return a result, and the result is never mercy. The worst is the ones who look at you. Most men, when the moment comes, look past you, at the sky, at the crowd, at some private horizon inside their own minds. But occasionally one looks directly at you, directly into your eyes. And in that look there is no accusation, which is somehow worse. There is only a kind of terrible recognition, as if he sees you clearly for the first time, not as death, not as an instrument, but as a man. A man doing this. A man who chose, however the choice was shaped, to be standing here. Those are the faces that follow you home. You cannot join a guild. This matters more than it sounds. The guild is how a craftsman becomes a man of standing. The guild negotiates your wages, defends your rights, buries you with ceremony, educates your sons. Without it, you are skilled but unprotected, like a wall with no foundation. Useful until the first hard season. Your children carry your mark. Your sons cannot apprentice to most trades. Your daughters cannot marry into respectable families without concealment, without lies, without a careful distance from this town and its long memory. Some do it. Some escape. You do not blame them. You hope for it. Quietly, in the way you hope for things you cannot say aloud. You are paid, but irregularly. The town owes you a fee for each duty performed. A few coins for a flogging, more for an execution. But the magistrate sometimes delays, sometimes disputes. And you have no guild to advocate for you. No guild to take your grievance to the council. You go to the magistrate with your hat in your hands, and you ask, and sometimes he pays. And sometimes he says next week, and sometimes next week means never. You have learned to keep enough firewood. There are strange privileges in the isolation. You are permitted to take the clothes of the condemned, a custom old as the office itself. You take them not for vanity, but for cloth, for warmth, for trade. You take them, and you do not think too hard about who wore them last. You are permitted the use of certain public goods ahead of others, though no one will stand beside you at the well. These are compensations. They are not comforts. There is a difference. People sometimes come to you in secret. This surprises you the first time. It no longer does. They come for remedies. There is an old belief that the hands of an executioner carry medicinal power, that the fat of the condemned can cure the sick, that a touch from your fingers can relieve the pain of a broken body. You think about this sometimes, how they will not eat with you, will not pray beside you, will cross the road to avoid your shadow, and yet when fever takes their child, they knock on your door before dawn and do not say please. You let them in. You help them. You do not know exactly why. Perhaps because it is the only time anyone looks at you without flinching. There is a morning in late autumn that you will not forget. The man they bring you is young, younger than you expected from the charges. The charges are serious. The magistrate has been thorough. The confession exists. Signed and sealed, obtained in a room you know well. The crowd has already gathered. The aldermen are present in their robes. Everything is in order. Everything is always in order. He is perhaps 20, perhaps less. He has the hands of a tanner, cracked and stained, and he is shaking, not dramatically, not with great heaving sobs, but with a fine, constant tremor, like a man standing in cold water. He looks at you when they bring him up the steps, and he says something. He says it quietly, just for you. He says, "I did not do it." You have heard this before. Every man says something like this. You know the formula of last words, the small liturgy of denial that the condemned perform in these final moments. But this man does not perform it. He says it the way a man states a fact he knows will not save him. He says it without anger, without pleading, with only the bleak clarity of a person who has accepted that the truth no longer has any weight in this particular place. You look at him. You look at his hands, at the tremor, at his eyes which do not waver from yours. You look at the magistrate, who is consulting his scroll. You look at the crowd, who have brought their children to watch, because this is the spectacle and the lesson and the thing the town does with its justice, so that everyone can see justice being done. You look at the rope, which is wet, which is knotted correctly, which will do what it was prepared to do. And you understand, not for the first time, not with shock, but with the dull settling weight of a thing confirmed, that none of this is about truth. It was never about truth. It is about order. It is about the appearance of order. And you are the man they hired so that the appearance of order could be maintained without any of the men in robes having to touch it. You do your job. Afterward, the magistrate presses coins into your palm without looking at you. You walk home along the edge of the market. Someone moves out of your path, not rudely, not with aggression, just with the habitual, automatic reflex of a person who has learned to treat your presence as weather, something to be avoided without thought, something that simply is. The coins are cold. You put them in the box beneath the floorboard with the others. That night you sit by the fire and you think about the boy's hands, not his face, not his words. His hands, the tanner stain that wouldn't wash out, the cracked knuckles, the fine tremor. The fire burns low. Outside, the town is quiet. The gates are closed. The square is empty, swept clean. Tomorrow the market will open and the stalls will fill and children will run between the legs of merchants and the aldermen will convene and everything will proceed in its proper order. And the order will be good. And the good order will require someone to stand at its edge and hold the rope. And that someone will be you, because it has always been you, because it will always be you. You do not sleep for a long time. When you do not dream. Or perhaps you do, and by morning you have learned not to remember.